So, hi everyone, and welcome to our April expert call with Amber Lilyestrom. This month's theme is living with vision. And in our previous call, we spoke about the importance of creating a sacred space, whether literally, like my really enthusiastic corner, or a state you create for yourself emotionally so you can tap into your truest, bravest selves. We did some visualizations. We started discussing your core desired feelings. We went through some questions to try to tap into what those feelings are. And after this session with Amber, it'll be time for you to put your visions out into the world and share them with us. So whether that be in a vision board or something you write, something you speak, something you film as a video, whatever speaks to you in your message, I'm going to challenge you, empower you to share that with us, to solidify it a little bit, put it out into the world so you can get used to putting your visions out into the world so they can manifest. So Amber, so excited to have her here. Amber is my personal business coach, and she is living proof for the power of living with vision. A couple years ago, she completely redefined her visions, and her life has taken a massive turn, and I will let her tell you all about that. But while Amber is a soul-centered business coach, I want to make it clear that you don't need to be an entrepreneur like the people that she coaches to live an innovative entrepreneurial life. Does that make sense? Our lives are malleable. We are in control. We can shape them to be whatever we want, and that's whether we're our own boss or if we have a boss. So with that, Amber, take the floor. Who are you? What do you do? How'd you get where you are now? And then you can dive into the coaching.
Awesome, Tori. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here tonight to chat with you ladies and to do some visioning and some reframing and some refocusing. So as Tori said, I've edited a little bit with my new podcast that's out, so I'm a soul-powered branding and business coach. Really, there's a ton of life coaching in there too, because it's all kind of one and the same. If you're rocking out in your business, that probably means you're rocking out in your life too, because you can't really do one without the other. It's all interdependent. And the same goes for being in your career as well. So I just launched a podcast called The Soul Powered CEO. Love it if you guys would check it out over on iTunes. And it's all about stepping into your power, soul powering your life and your brand and your business, all of it, the whole kit and caboodle. And recognizing that when you walk into the doors of wherever you work or wherever you're showing up in your life, you have the opportunity to put your best self out there and to be the most aligned version of you at all times, no matter what the circumstances are, because it's all in here. It's all in here. And you get to manage and work yourself out in the world. And so I'm excited to talk to you guys a little bit about defining success, to talk about our personal states that we get ourselves in, as Tori alluded to when we started, and just some new discoveries that I've made around that are helping me shift myself and my own energy, because life as a human being and human doing on this planet is like this all the time. It doesn't matter, if you are Oprah, or if you are one of us, it doesn't matter. We all have to ride the waves, and we have to figure out how to best get ourselves in a state so that we can manage the hits, when we get knocked off the board, right? Get back up and start paddling again and catch that next one and have that resiliency in order to do that. But without a foundation, it's really hard to do that. So I'll give you a little background just on my story, and I'll try to keep this really, really tight. But basically, for 10 years, I was my first career after being a college athlete. I got a job at my alma mater as the marketing coordinator, and I was running all of the marketing and promotions and branding for the University of New Hampshire athletic department. And which is funny because it's like a stone's throw over some way over there maybe now, from where I live in Lee, New Hampshire. And it was like everything to me. It was my home. It was my heart. It was a place that I grew up. I was there for 14 years, from being a student athlete to being in my job. And I went from being a marketing coordinator with $20,000 and no benefits to being associate athletic director for strategic initiatives and marketing. And I was going to be the president of all the marketing administrators in the entire country. So I was like doing it. I was in it. I was in that achievement system, and I was working it. And I was being really recognized for it and really honored for it. And frankly, I was being groomed to become a Division I athletic director at the time. And when I became a mom, things really started to shift. And the truth is that was the real catalyst for me to make the change, but they were shifting underneath the surface all along. And that underneath the surface, my foundation wasn't really solid because I had built this house. I built all of these goals and all of this achievement on top of a foundation that was not rooted in this success and achievement system. So I realized I didn't really want that. I didn't want to sit in that chair. But it wasn't until I had the clarity of becoming a mom, having a life-altering experience when my daughter was born, I stopped breathing on the operating room table, and I had this real spiritual awakening and moment of just saying, what are you doing? You're just abandoning yourself. And this moment of just pure gratitude and surrender and recognizing that I didn't have to do my life that way anymore. And now the stakes were even higher because I was a mom. And so we came out of that operating room together, and it was okay, game on. And I didn't know, what the heck I was going to do. I wasn't sure. I literally had really no idea. All I knew was that I loved helping people. I loved coaching. I loved mentoring. I had been teaching at UNH, and I had been mentoring students for all of the years that I was there. And I loved the relationship I had with those kids and helping them on their journeys and helping them take big steps and push through their fear and all of that. And all the coaching I was doing with all my coworkers, looking back, realizing I was constantly doing that, which I'm sure a lot of you guys can probably relate to that. Just the fact that you're here trying to further your personal development means that you're probably someone that people look to for support and love and guidance. And it took about 8 months or so. Yeah, when I left, Ani was 8 months. And so for me to figure out the actual wheels down plan of driving forward of exactly what I was going to do. And, exactly, right. It's evolved a ton since I left and gave my notice. And now I'm working as a work from home mom with my business coaching clients all over the world, and also doing coaching programs and the podcast and all these fun things, right? Things that just feel really expansive. But what really needed to happen was I had to sit down and I had to get really clear on what success actually meant to me. So I'm sure you guys have talked about that before, but I want to really dig into that, because I think that we can kind of elude ourselves and trick ourselves into thinking, this is what success really is. And even in this entrepreneurial space, you might see and I don't know, because Facebook algorithms and all these things, whatever we pull in, right? Some of us will see different things than others, but a lot of the entrepreneurial coaches in the space are 6 figures, have a 5-figure month. And, they're really putting all this emphasis and focus on money and making this money. And that being the reason why, you want to be successful in your business. And even that for me was I just, that doesn't work. That doesn't feel like it's going to fit long term here, and frankly, when I realized that I was attracting clients that wanted that, they weren't a good fit for me. And so it was I constantly have to kind of look at what true success is for me and what it really means to be successful in my definition. And so one of those big things, which has been a long-term goal, and Tori alluded to this around the manifesting something really cool. What that is that basically I have wanted for my whole life to create a space that felt not only just a home, a physical home that felt really amazing, but a soul home, a place where I felt I could fully be myself and just physically be in that space and have it be the embodiment of everything. And so this past August, it's a silly little story, but we manifested this house that we live in now that we had 6.5 years ago. We had come upon kayaking with friends, and we were just dating at the time. We were not in any position to be buying a house or even thinking about it, but we asked the people if we could have a tour because we were feeling so pulled and so drawn to this home. And they're sure, come on up. And it was a Sunday afternoon. They're all drinking beer, having a barbecue on the lawn. And they brought us up, and we came in and saw this house, and we just looked at each other and said, I have no idea how we could ever possibly make this happen, but we completely fell in love with this house. And so it stayed in the back of our minds. We bought another house and moved on with our lives and moved on with our careers and kept doing things in the track of what success felt like it was supposed to be. And just this May, we're looking online, and the listing was there, and this house was for sale. And we're oh my God, we have to do it. I have no idea how we're going to do this. I've only been self-employed for 1.5 years. There's no way I'm going to be able to get a mortgage, all of these things. And we have to sell this house. Long story short, we sold our house in 9 days. We put in a full price offer. They accepted it. Lots of shenanigans went down, but we moved in. We moved in on August 28th, the day before Ani's birthday, the day after Ben's, right there in the middle. And we had this big, huge shindig here. And now we live on this pond, this mini lake. My grandfather has, there's this real heritage around the loons. You guys familiar with the common loon, the bird, the loon, which is like, it's really like sacred, kind of spiritual kind of creature, if you will. And so I grew up going to this cottage up in Lake Winnipesaukee, and it was like my grandfather was like the crusader of like protecting the loons. He was part of like the preservation society. You know, it's like a big deal. And so those birds have meant so much to me. And so the day we closed on the house, we came out, we moved some things in and went out on the lawn, and we weren't able to stay here for the first few nights because we're, you know, work and all these things and moving a 2-year-old and all that. And we looked out on the water, and there was a loon right off the shore. And it was like this incredible moment. Of course, there were tears, and it was just like, how is this even happening right now? Like, how is this even real? How is this a reality? And it was this moment of realizing, just feeling so blessed and feeling so honored for just answering the call, you know, and not giving up on these dreams, you know, and these visions that we have for ourselves. And so the visions that you have for yourself, that you already know what they are, and maybe you've voiced them and maybe you haven't. And this is a really great opportunity with this exercise that Tori's bringing you through to really start getting concrete about what those visions look like. They don't have to be, you know, there was this process that happened in it of this house. We were very specific about wanting this home, but we also simultaneously ungripped from it. We detached from it. And we're like, if this house is meant to be our house, it will be, but we're not going to define ourselves by whether or not we succeed with this. And so we just kind of like let it be loose. And then the universe was like, no, this is it. This is the one. Here you go. You know, let's make this happen for you. So if there's something specific that you want, you know, there's something you really are wanting to create, whether that's your lifestyle, the way you want to work, you know, a partner, whatever that happens to be, it's just getting really general and doing like the zoom out on it, and recognizing that when you're feeling, you know, when you start to feel really good, you can start to zoom in a little bit and get a little more specific about it. But, you know, as soon as it starts to get a little shaky, you just zoom out and you focus on feeling good. Because the moral of the story, I'm a big Abraham Hicks fan, the moral of the story is that wealth and prosperity and all those good things, right? Living in the house we want, like the only reason that we want those things is because of the feelings they generate. So having a lot of money in the bank or having a lot of clients on the books, you know, or whatever, you want all those things because of the way it makes you feel in your life. Having a partner where you feel loved and you feel like you can be grateful for that person and you can give to them and, you know, feel just so held in that relationship. They are ultimately feelings that you get as a result of being in that partnership. So the same goes with looking at success at the broad spectrum of your life and saying, how do I want to feel? Just like you did with your core desire feeling exercise. How do I want to feel when I am successful? And then recognizing that you can choose to feel that way today. You can choose to be in a state of well-being right this second, all the time. And you can do that as simply by just zooming out. So when something's feeling crazy, I was listening to Tori's story about spilling the red smoothie in the bag with the promotional materials and everything going everywhere, which was really, you know, like exactly. You just kind of like, I'm going to laugh this one off. I'm going to zoom out of this one right now. Because if you stayed in it and you stayed in on the details of like, I just ruined these things and now I have to go get more. I'm late already. I'm going to be even later right now. It's just gonna drive you deeper into the hole. And then what happens is you just continue to attract things that reinforce that negative state that you're in. So then you're gonna get pulled over on the way there. You know, you're not gonna be able to find parking. And when you do, you're definitely gonna get a ticket, especially if you're going to UNH campus, if that was the day you were doing that. I don't know. But no matter what, all those negative things are gonna stack up and they're going to reinforce and say, oh, you feel bad? Great, well, let me give you more reasons to stay in this state. And so this realization that we are the creators of our experience and of our reality, that we have to start at like the real base level with knowing what success looks like, but more importantly, what it feels like, right? So you feel free, you feel abundant, you feel in flow, you feel at ease, you feel like you're just having incredible conversations and connections with women like Tori who you love, and you're helping them. And it's just fully filling your whole life, right? And it feels amazing. It doesn't ever feel like work. It feels just like joy. And that's what we're trying to create no matter what it is. You know, if you love designing, or if you love sales, or you love whatever, like how can you perpetuate that experience and enhance it to really feel fulfilling on the broad spectrum of your entire life? and then let that kind of spill over into other areas. But I think the real like short circuit thing that I've been using lately is just the only thing I have to focus on is feeling good right now. So that's it. It's really simple. So if you're in your boss's office and you're having a meeting, what can you focus on that's going to make you feel good? And what can you not focus on that's going to make you feel bad? And I had to lean on that heavily, even though I wasn't fully aware I was doing it when I was back in my corporate job getting ready to plan my escape, because it got pretty rugged for a little while there. And so I had to really do that, and then also simultaneously be home with my daughter at night. My husband was working the night shift, and work on my business, once I got her down before her like next wake up, because she was only 8 months old. So she still doesn't sleep through the night. So, and she's 2.5, it just, this is our child, right? We were all divinely delivered to each other for all the lessons that we needed. So that was a lot. What questions, Tori, do you want anything else you want me to dive in on and keep going with?
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah. Do you want to give a couple tools or maybe give an example of what you do in the moment to shift your perception in the moment to what can I find that's good about right now?
Yeah. So I can give an example of just a situation that just happened in this last week. So I had, so it's like total roller coaster. So 2 weeks ago, Ben and I were outside working on the yard, and I just said, I am terrible at this. I have no idea where to plant things. I'm just really good at killing things. And I'm going to, I want to get peonies, but like, I have no idea where to put them in this yard so that they're actually going to thrive and be great, And so I have no idea. And so it's just overwhelming, right? It's just like overwhelming. So then what do? I'm just detached. I'm just not even dealing with this. So, I said, we need like a person. We need a person that like knows this stuff, that could come and look at our yard and like give it like a, do like a Joanna Gaines on it, right? And like look at it and fix it up and make it look beautiful and tell us exactly where to put things, so that it'll all be maximized. And so he's just like, okay, whatever. And so we go on our merry way, and we made some like little plans about things, but nothing concrete. And then later in the week, I had a discovery session scheduled with a woman who didn't really like leave many details in the description of what her business was or whatever, but she wanted to talk to me about helping her with her branding and her business. So I got on the phone, and she's like, so I'm a landscape architect, and I do like feng shui for people's yards, and I help them like do plant plans to figure out what their needs are and how it's going to best balance their energy. And I was like, shut the front door. Like, really? Like feng shui for your backyard? Landscape barbecue? I'm like, come on, like this, come on. It was like hysterical. It was hysterical. And so we're like cackling at this point, because she's like a shaman, and she's all energetic and all like woo woo, but also like an architect, and also has this like real logic side to her too, which I'm both ways. And so it was just this like kindred spirit connection. And I was like, and she's like, yeah, like just do it, the whole package, just do the whole thing. And I'm like, okay, great, awesome, right? So then I'm just feeling like, okay, this is it. And I had been feeling pretty like ratty earlier in the day. I was like in the space of just like being on myself about stuff. And so I just sat here, and I just like said a little prayer, and like just said, okay, like I get it. I totally get it. The second I choose to shift my energy, the second I choose to focus on what's good, what's right, I'm being delivered these incredible, miraculous gifts. And, I want you guys to think about that. So that'd be a really good exercise, like to frame and think about moments when things have felt really in flow, and you felt like you've been divinely delivered, or gifted this like miracle, whatever it might be. It doesn't matter what your belief system is. Like we all have these pop-up things happen that we're like, that's crazy. It might be a coincidence, but maybe not, and so it's looking at that and then recognizing what energy state you were in when you were delivered that. So the story continues. So I went down, I like stood in the water a little bit, like grounded myself, was just having gratitude. And then I got an email from her on the weekend that was saying something like, a little bit like, it was still really positive, but it was like, I think that I'm an artist and a designer. And so I'm very specific about exactly how I want my graphics and logo and all those things to be. And I'm not sure that your team is up to snuff to be able to do that. And I was like, okay, that one stings a little bit. Like, okay, all right. And so I was like, that's cool. And so I gave it like, I asked her to give me some specifics and some examples, because I needed to be able to see, obviously, visually. And I was like, I stayed ungripped, I did not let it become a personal thing, right? It's like, because it's not. And it never is. So like that is another thing. So where are you allowing things to be personal? Where are you allowing things to offend you? Where are you allowing people to be rude to you? Because ultimately it's not about you, it's about them. And the part about you is how you're reacting to that. And why, I love to just get on the why train over and over and over again and sit with yourself and say, why is this happening right now? Why am I feeling this way right now? What are the answers to these questions telling me about what I need to know about myself right now and where I'm at energetically and what's going on? We have to be our own heroes. We have to be the ones who rescue us. No one else is going to ride in on the white horse and come in and say like, okay, Amber, I've got you. Everything's okay. I'll take care of this. I have an incredible husband who's a police officer. He's going to be a firefighter. He is a hero. He's a literal hero, right? But he can't save me from myself. He just can't. It's not possible. And he sure tries. And I'm really grateful. But I'm the only one that can save me from myself. And so having that tool of understanding how, really, really being with myself and witnessing myself when things are not going great and when things are going great, and understanding how I'm feeling, what's going on, what's connected to that, and just becoming like a mad scientist of yourself so that you can you learn how to drive your own ship, right? And steer it as you go and recognize that everything that's happening to you is your own creation. And it does not belong to anyone else. And so I wrote her back and I said, send me some examples. And so she sent me some examples, and I couldn't even she's not the most technically savvy person. So she couldn't even really give me great links to examples. And so I'm trying to find these things and I'm like, you know what? This just doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel good. So time out. And so I just sat there last night and I said, I'm just going to write her an email. I'm going to say, here's the truth. I don't want to disappoint anyone, myself or you. I want to deliver to you. And here's where I think I could best serve you. But I don't think that this part of the work is going to be a good fit. And I love our connection. I 100% understand if that doesn't work for you. And I completely release any attachment to any of it. And she wrote back the next morning and she was like, thank you so much for your candor. I really appreciate it. I love our connection too. I'll just find someone else to do the logo. No problem. I want you to do all the rest. I want to work together. The check's in the mail. Let's go. And I was like, okay, because that's all you got to do. All you have to do is tell your truth. But you can't tell your truth if you don't know where you're at. And if you're not with yourself on your journey, if you keep abandoning yourself, right? And I love this whole analogy of we have to pick ourselves for our own team. Okay, so when you wake up in the morning, are you picking yourself for your own team, or are you picking on yourself? And I spent years doing that. I had an eating disorder for 15 years of my life. I was a competitive fitness athlete, and I only did it so I could just try to get skinnier. And it was really messed up. And I'm really glad I did it because I learned a lot about myself. And I was like a masochist, walking through the fire, making myself do it at the end, just so I could see how dysfunctional it was for me to do it. It has nothing to do with anybody else, but it was just about me and my story and my journey. And really literally walking through the fire with it. And then recognizing that this wasn't right for me, and then just having fun with it and owning it and saying I'm just going to rock this out, because this is me and this is where I'm at. And that was a really big catalyst on my journey. So I like to share story. I think it's really important. I think it helps really frame, but the tools that are kind of embedded in all of that is, again, going back to identifying what your success really looks like, clearly, understanding what success feels like for you. And you know what? It doesn't have to be being a millionaire. In fact, if you become a millionaire, it just magnifies everything, So the more money you have, which is great, but it magnifies everything. And it's just on a bigger scale of more issues and things you have to kind of deal with. So when people get rich really fast, you can see when their stuff's a total disaster. That's why all these people that win the lottery, right, go bankrupt, because they just were not equipped for that. They were not ready to deal with that. And so I think incremental growth is a beautiful thing. I think being on your journey with yourself is a beautiful thing, yet we always want to hit fast forward and we want to get there faster. But two things, what I know to be true is that A, there's no finish line. And B, when I was laying on an operating room table thinking that I was literally going to die, the only thing that I felt once I got through all of my rage and frustration was just this overwhelming sense of gratitude and love, truly filled completely in every cell of my body with love and gratitude. And that has given me this awareness that if that's what it feels like when we die, then what are we so afraid of when we're living? There's nothing to fear, truly. And the only fear is when we abandon ourselves, when we don't love ourselves unconditionally, when we abandon and when we give ourselves up. And so how can you find a way to see yourself unconditionally, to treat yourself unconditionally, to treat your goals unconditionally, right? Being open to the idea of, I want to be an author. I want to write a book. I want to tell my story, but not being so entrenched in how exactly it has to go. And in the same thing with a business plan, or, with a promotion you want to get in your job, or the partner you want to attract, whatever that is, not being so incredibly specific that you lose track of, the journey, because it's all about the journey. The journey is it. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question. Can you speak a bit too? So, you work and I work a lot with entrepreneurs who, like, this language is something we understand because there's something in us that says, I need to go off the path.
Yeah.
But like Daisy, sorry to call you out, Daisy, but I'm going to use you as an example. She's a scientist. Like, she has a set path.
Nice.
And then, like, my mom, who's had the same job for 20 years, like, how do we translate this idea of, like, for my mom, maybe she doesn't want to write a book or start her own something, or how can we still feel like we are fulfilled and purposeful and just so full of love, and like we are living up to our fullest potential, even if, like, maybe our goals aren't these humongous goals. They're just like, I want to feel good and I want to feel healthy and I want to be loved. Like, where do we start and where do we get clear on what those, like, key words are for us, those key feelings? How do we even discover what they mean to us and how they can fit into the context of our lives?
So I think that it's about, I always ask, my clients or whomever, like, what's the big vision you have for your life? And, like, the big vision could literally be, like, I want to retire at X age, or I want to, publish a study in a journal or something, or, whatever that happens to be in the context of whatever it is you're doing. Like, my big vision could have been to become a Division I athletic director. And that would have been awesome. And it is for a lot of my peers that I'm no longer working directly with. And so I think we can't judge ourselves, right? So, like, even listening to me talk about this, like, a really good practice is recognizing, like, no one here is better than anyone else. Like, we are all even. We all have our own journeys. We all have our own stuff, that we're doing, and so it doesn't matter, So whatever Daisy's doing is amazing, right? But you have to figure out how to live and breathe in the construct of your life and feel really great about it. And I think that there's for me, like, I knew that I wanted to be like. I wanted to live on water. I had very visceral things. Like, I wanted to be able to wake up in the morning and kayak. I wanted to have a loon in my backyard so I could think of my grandfather and have that, like, really kindred spirit connection, with nature. I wanted to give that to my daughter so I could teach her at a young age and show her, because I also knew that we were going to be losing my grandfather's cottage at some point because of my mom's crazy family. And so, ironically, it's on the market this year. And we just got our house. Like, there you go. Right. So I wanted to be able to have a place, and a space for family because family is number one to me. And, like, being connected with family is so important to me, a sacred space where we could all gather. And then this house is the materialized, physical manifestation of that. My brother's getting married here in October. Like, how amazing is that? They asked us if they could. Like, I was like a mess, bawling my eyes out when they asked. And so I think it's finding, like, what is that for you? Mm-hmm. What is that for you? It doesn't have to be a physical place. It could be traveling. It could be like, I like to travel and I want to ignite that and do that more. It could be, I want to run a marathon or something, or, I want to start a nonprofit. I want to it could just be like, I want to wake up on the weekends and have coffee, and just chill out in my sweatpants and watch Super Soul Sunday because it makes me feel good. Like, it doesn't matter. There's no, like, ranking system here unless you create one, and there's no, like, better or worse. It's just what is for you and what feels good to you. And that's the most important piece, because if we can get into a good feeling state, then we can make anything happen. We can supercharge ourselves and our environment and others to help make those things possible, and even better things than we, thought possible as well.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to ask one more question, then I'll let you guys talk. How do we get brave and ask for bigger things? Because a lot of us, we go through the day and they're like, who am I to deserve that? That idea makes no sense in the context of my life now. Like, how do we get brave and think outside the box and really, truly believe, like, to our core, that we can manifest these things?
Mm-hmm. Well, so my daughter did not know how to walk when she was born. So it took 9 months for her to figure out how to walk. Right. And it took longer for her to be actually steady on her feet, and she still falls a lot. So, that's
really cute.
Yeah. Yeah. She's awesome. So I think that analogy, is the same over and over again. And we've all done it, like we all learned how to walk, we all learned how to run. And so recognizing that you're starting at square one with something, but you can't start unless you actually have the idea and the inspiration. And so you have to allow yourself, and I say this a lot, like, you have to give yourself permission to want what you want. Mm-hmm. And that is a big mountain for a lot of people. So you might not be able to do that right out of the gate. I was hiding in that corporate job, but I really ultimately knew this is exactly what I wanted to be doing for a long time. But I was trying to fit it in the filter and through the lens of collegiate athletics. And so I was like, I created this whole like young professionals, personal development angle in the board organization I was part of. Like, I had all these like coaching things I was doing, and I was hosting webinars and all this stuff, right? And I was like talking about collegiate athletics, but I was also talking about personal development. And that was like practice. It was like training wheels, for taking them off and then coming out into this world and being like, well, hell, now I have no credibility because I was this collegiate athletics person for a decade, and now I'm like going to come out here and talk about like personal branding and building online businesses, and I don't know anything about that. Like, I really didn't. And so I had a coach that was really helpful. So it's great that you guys are in a space where you have support with whatever it is you're doing. Like, you shouldn't try to do it alone. You think about all these incredible athletes, like none of them do it alone. You just can't. It's like, it's getting to with people who are further on that part of the journey, who are doing what it is that you want to be doing. It's the most brilliant thing you can do is align yourselves with them. It's just like, it's called shortcut. Like, it's called short circuiting it so that it can happen faster for you. And also what I find and what I love so much is being able to support people, because I want it to be easier for them if it can be. Obviously, it's still going to be hard, and I'm not going to baby them. Of course, you probably already figured that out from just the way that I talk, but I'm going to push you, but I'm going to help you, not have to spend quite as many late nights or as, searching for all these things. If I know the answers to it, I'm going to help you with that. And that's really what coaching is all about. So, so I think, getting back to your question, it's just starting small, giving yourself permission to want what you want at the onset, and then just spending time with that desire and allowing it to just kind of blossom. Like over here in New Hampshire, we have some daffodils out there that are like, yesterday they're like peeking out a little. I'm like, oh, we're going to see them. And then it snowed today. So, so it's like, oh, those poor daffodils, like, I don't know when we're going to see them. They're like still kind of like frozen in the state that they were yesterday. I'm hoping the sun warms them up and then they start to blossom tomorrow. But it's not like, you plant a seed in the ground and then the next day you have like a whole harvest to go grab. It doesn't work that way. And it's the same thing with us as personal development on our journey growing. Sometimes it can take years. It really can, which is like, oh, seriously, Amber? But you guys know that, it just does. And the only way you're going to get there is by just being intentionally focused on taking action steps every single day, no matter what those are. It could simply just be doing morning pages, like doing a little bit of writing about what it is you want to create. It could be doing some meditation. It could be just going on a walk and thinking about it extra in the shower, whatever it is, and just giving yourself permission to spend time with that vision.
Yeah. And just, like you said, if we're focusing, if our goal every moment, every day, every week, every month is to feel good, who cares if it takes years, because you're feeling good right now.
Yeah. And it may change. Like,
Right.
That's the other part. Like it could go in a different direction, you know,
Right.
completely. And it could be something even better that you hadn't even thought of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some of you guys weren't on the call a couple weeks ago, but if we look at my life where I am now, if we were to define it by other people's view of success, like I moved out of New York City after living there alone for 10 years, moved in with my parents. I have a bedroom in my parents' home. I'm borrowing their car. I have a curfew at night. And I'm almost 30 years old. Somebody else could look at that and go, shit, Tori's not doing so well. But I got really in touch with what I needed. I needed to get out of the city. I needed to be near the ocean. I needed to be surrounded by my amazing, loving, supported family. And that's what drove me to be brave to make those choices. So when you are in touch with them, you can really tell your ego to shut up. Because if my ego was talking right now, I'd be like, what are you doing? You left New York City to move home and live with your parents? Like, what is everybody going to think? You run a business and you teach people how to live their lives and you're moving home to live with your parents? Like, I could let that chatter shut me down and shut down my core feelings, but because I'm a feeler. If it doesn't feel good, it's not going to happen. But we have to be in touch with that, or else we're going to go off course for a long time until it's so blatantly obvious. Like you're going to get sick. Something bad is going to happen where it's so overwhelming that you're going to be forced to look at your life. Like, why not start now and like slowly get in touch with our core desired feelings and have that willingness to believe in it and believe that it's something valid and it's going to lead us to our ultimate happiness and our ultimate health. Because when we're happy, we're healthy. We're not stressing ourselves. We're eating right. We're exercising. We're loving, and love makes you healthy.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Do you guys have, and please utilize Amber. Do you guys have any questions? It can be about visions. It can be about business, whether you're an entrepreneur or within your career. It can be about switching careers. It can be about love and relationships and what that looks like with a vision.
Yeah, and anything specific that you're just stuck with. I love to help people get unstuck with whatever that is. So, whatever it is, doesn't, you know, if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, that's okay too. So what are you feeling stuck with that you need support on, kind of like breaking through and getting a new perspective on? Any brave souls?
Be a brave soul.
You can do it.
I'm going to put someone on the spot.
I was gonna say, they're not stuck at all then, Tori.
I'll talk.
Thank you, Mom.
Hi.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Amber.
Hi, Bonnie.
Hi. I just wanted to say that I don't feel stuck, but
Okay.
I did wonder what I would get out of listening to you talk tonight because of the whole business aspect of it. But right away, so much of what you said resonated with me, because part of it is about having goals, like we were talking about. And, you know, one of mine was I pictured myself living near the ocean, and I made that happen. Mm-hmm. And then I am looking towards retirement in probably 5 years. Mm-hmm. So I have that goal that I'm working on and I know will happen. You know, and then the half marathon, I'm still struggling with that, but because part of me is like, oh God, how am I ever going to do this? But I know I'm going to do it. I know I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So a lot of what you were saying did resonate. I didn't know how it would, but it definitely did. And it will stay with me.
Good. I'm so glad. Yeah. And like I said, you're so welcome. And, you know, the work that I do, my passion is, it's really life coaching based. It's there's business and branding and there's a ton of strategy around it. But my whole shtick around branding is that everyone here, whether you have a business or not, you're a brand. Because ultimately, you know, that's a brand is essentially, it's this really cool sort of nebulous thing where it is essentially the embodiment and the essence of who you are. And it's how you make other people feel. That's really what a brand is. So if you think about your favorite brands, you think about Apple, which I know most of you love. You think about, you know, your favorite lip gloss company or something, you know, your favorite clothing line, food that you love, eateries that you go to. It gives you a feeling when you walk in the door, when you're engaging with a product. And so that is the same thing with all of us here. And so when you're a personal brand, you know, when you're positioning yourself out in the world, if you are anything other than who you really are, it's not gonna go well. It's not gonna translate well. And the same goes with showing up at your corporate job. If you are being anyone other than who you really are, and you have to shut off certain parts of your personality, like you have to literally take the switch and flip it down when you walk in the door, then I can promise you that your productivity is going to go down. Your ability to attract the abundance that you want is going to go down. Your relationships are going to go, like your health is definitely going to go down, because you're going to be drinking more coffee and things to like help you slog through it, because you're just going to not be feeling good, right? So you're going to do whatever you can to get yourself an energy boost. And it's not going to be this holistic life that we really want to be living. So that, from my approach, is really around helping people do the similar kind of work that Tori is, but just in a branding sense, right? And looking at their life as a whole, and then translating it into a business that's going to really represent them. And my whole, like, the sort of mission statement of all of the work that I do is I help people come home to themselves and come home to what their truth is, no matter what, no matter who it is that I'm supporting. And the beautiful byproduct of that is that in coming home to ourselves, we come home to our families, we come home to our loved ones, right? We bring our whole self back to our relationships. And, and I've been able to help a lot of moms leave corporate careers to be home with their babies, which is like the most amazing thing ever, because that's what they want. That's what they desire so much. And, so to be able to play a role in that and to support clients, whether moms or not, right, to come home to themselves and then to whoever it is that they love and want to be with, it's magic. It's really powerful stuff.
We have a couple of people going through kind of career transitions or deciding whether they're going to make a career transition. I could just say, do you want to say something about that? Or does anybody who's going through a career transition want to be brave and ask their question, or maybe say like what their biggest obstacle is right now, before making the leap or making a decision?
This is Megan.
Yeah, Megan.
Hi.
Hey, Megan.
I would say that my biggest obstacle right now is my school loans. Because I'm not exactly in a position that I love. I'm in a corporate job right now, working in technology, in sales, and I mean, it's literally all about the money. And I work with really great people, but it's not exactly fulfilling. So it's really hard to just up and leave something when I'm like $60,000 in debt. And I'm in the same spot. I'm living at home. I'm, luckily I don't have to borrow my mom's car, but close enough. So I'm in a spot where I'm trying to figure out what is going to fulfill me and what I do want to do. But it's just tough to figure that out. Like I know that I like marketing and talking to people and building relationships, but it's tough to walk away from, actually making money and being able to take care of myself.
Yeah. And that's reality, right? That's a real thing. So what, a question I really like to ask people when they're in that kind of position is, what makes you feel alive? What makes you feel really fulfilled? What do you love to give most? What do people ask you about a lot, for advice on, for support on? Those questions can be these incredible little doorways, like these secret little doorways into areas that you may not have thought about, or areas that you thought about, but you were like, I could never make that a business. Like I could never do that. And it could be, Megan, you could do something as like a side gig. You could just have some sort of side thing going on, that feels more fulfilling. And I find that if we feel like we're really contributing to something that feels good to us and participating in something that feels really good, it makes the other stuff feel better. Or it makes you feel worse, and then you're like, okay, I gotta get out of that. Like, and you pull out like one of those Liz Gilbert things of like, not this, like a not this moment. I don't know what, but not this. And there's incredible power in the not this. So can you think of anything that might be one of those like little secret doorways of like, this is something I'm really passionate about and that I absolutely love over here?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would say recently, like getting into nutrition has been something that's been a passion of mine, but it's hard to be able to focus on that when there really is so much to know about that. And I'm trying to focus on my own job and school as well, because I'm in school too.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like giving back to the community. That's something I've always enjoyed. I work with the Red Cross now. So I do that on the side, but it hasn't really financially felt like something I could completely dive into.
Yeah.
So that does make me feel a lot better for sure when I do actually get to volunteer and help out with that organization. But yeah, so I mean, I can definitely recognize things that make me happy, and hopefully one day I can just do that full time rather than as a side gig or just once in a while.
Yeah, and I think you know, a big part of the journey is like there is like a certain level of like slogging that has to go down, I think, for all of us, right? Like it's definitely not all like sunshine and rainbows even here, you know, like with what I've got going on in my world. Like today I had to do all my like financial stuff and send that over to my bookkeeper, and I was just like, oh God, it's so stressful. Like I hate this so much. And I was putting it off, and she's been asking me for like 2 weeks now, and you just got to do it, you know? And I think that, and there are certain parts of my job that are not always like so glamorous and so super fun. I don't like, you know, I love working with my clients, but of course there are going to be some times that you're just like, okay, I gotta like get it, here we go. Right. You gotta fire it up right now. Because it's called like being human. It's called life. So I think being able to recognize that, it sounds like you do. I think it sounds like you've got good energy around your work, and that you recognize like the value of it, and you're able to value it for what it is. And then, you know, also recognize the parts that are the not this, or the parts that don't fit. But I think if you can continue to really just pay attention to what is feeling great and like really honor that, and then figure out, like I was talking about before, like being your own human experiment and really witnessing yourself, and then just examining that and saying, okay, that was actually like really fun, and that was like when I was in a team environment, and you know, and like you just take little pieces from it and you put it in the little box, you know, and you have like this little box where you keep all the pieces that are really powerful, that are really magical around what kind of life you want to create for yourself, and what's going to put you into, you know, having more happy, right, more frequently. And eventually it starts to materialize into something bigger, you know, with a more clear vision. But it's the first part of you just identifying today that, you know, I'm ready to like start paying more attention to this and start really like focusing in on what my vision might look like, even though I'm not sure what it is right here today.
And Meg, you have so much going on with a full-time job and school. Yeah. Like it's okay to be in flux and be in this kind of this in-betweeny stage of your life. When I went back to school, I was a nanny in New York City, and sometimes my ego didn't want to tell people that. I left being the executive director of a nonprofit to be a nanny, and people would be like, but I just had to own it and be like, no, I'm a nanny. I'm in school right now. And I had to find purpose every day, 10-hour days, with a really demanding boss and 2 nutty kids who I grew to love them so much, but like, there's like a conversation you got to have with yourself all day. Like, okay, where can I find purpose in this? I would test out my nutrition stuff on the kids. Like I just would find little ways to go, okay, how do I feel purposeful? So like with your job, like you're selling something to help benefit somebody else. Like, yes, from your end, it feels like it's a transaction based on money, but for them, they need this product. It's like finding purpose somewhere in there and going, okay, well, I am helping somebody here. And while it doesn't exactly look like what I ultimately want to be doing, like I can feel good about helping somebody. Next month, we're talking about energy anatomy and like what all of this means in terms of like attracting or just thinking positively and bringing more positivity in your life, and the law of attraction. Like, what does that mean? But Amber, for now, in like a quick version, do you want to just speak a bit about like abundance mindset and just the willingness that you need to trust that it will come? And
so I like to think of the term fearless faith around these things, and just think about it like this. Like what is the difference between what it feels like when you receive money, you have money in your hand, or you have it in your bank account and you see it and you feel like everything's good? You know, like what are the feelings that happen when you see your bank balance and you're like, nice, like that feels really good right now? What are the feelings? And really like journal on that, versus the opposite of what does it feel like when the bank account is not looking so hot, you don't have the money, or you had like some unexpected huge expense. Like we had to replace our transmission in our car because the drivetrain shattered it. Crazy. But we were like, something good is going to happen. Like something has to happen because this is insane. Like we're going to have to come up with like $9,000 to fix a transmission in this stupid car. We were like calling our friend who's in the DA in New York City. And we're like, do you know anybody who could like take a car and like dump it in the Hudson? Like, what are we going to do? We gotta come up with some solution here, because this is like a really bad situation. And we really like just zoomed out, you guys, zoom out of it and just have some faith around it. And then we filed as an insurance claim, and the insurance paid for a brand new transmission in the car. And it was like, what? That's crazy. Like, that whole thing did very unexpected with how the whole thing went down, but it was awesome. And so abundance mindset is recognizing that, you know, you energetically are putting out what you're getting back. And if you're constantly thinking that you're in this like tight, grippy, like the way you feel emotionally, like you feel, right? Like your body, like use your body to help really like mimic it. So what does it feel like? Everybody do an example. What does it feel like when your bank account looks like really small? What does your body feel like? Show me what you look like. You're like, yeah, you're like huddled down. You're like tight. You're like a little wild animal. Like, get away from me. Don't touch me. Leave me alone. Right? You're like biting people, right? That's what it's like. That's what it feels like. And so you're energetically repelling anything good that's going to be coming to you. Okay. And so it's going to take some time to really practice this and to recognize that it's going to come back. Like it's the closed fist, open palm thing, right? You cannot get any more money. No, nothing can come in here if it's like this. You will lose some because some of it might float away, but you can get more and more and more and more and more. So you need to stay open at all times to attracting in more abundance. And it can come in different ways. So it can come in the way of a promotion. It can come in the way of like an unexpected gift from grandma. It can come in the way of an insurance check saying, here's a new transmission. You pay for all this insurance, and now we're going to actually really benefit you with something, right? So open and receiving, and just living your life in that receptive mode.
Anybody else have any more questions before we get off the call?
Pamela was going to ask something, and then Bonnie saved her. So I'm just going to like call her out because I know my Pamela.
I was just going to say, it's not really a question, I guess. So I've been going through this job thing for who knows how long. I've been going through this dating thing for who knows how long. And literally within the past 3 weeks, I've very much like let go of the specifics, and things are happening.
Woo!
And it's nothing's really happening, but like things are starting to happen. I'm starting to hear from people. I'm like actually dating again, which is horrifying. But I'm having this issue, I guess, where like things are going really well. And I'm like, okay, I'm opening myself up to these new things. And then like something bad happens, or it doesn't go the way I want it to. And I'm like, oh, story of my life. Nothing ever works out. And I've started to catch myself in this train of thought, but like, is there anything that can be like smack me in the face? Like, because I put myself down a lot. Like, it's all my fault that, you know, the guy I actually want to date doesn't want to date me. The job I want to get, like, I'm asking too much money, like all this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So open, but
yeah. So I learned, so suffering, the definition of suffering is being obsessed with yourself. Okay. I'm going to let you guys like marinate on that for a second. The definition of suffering is being obsessed with yourself, because you are perpetuating bad feelings internally. And so you're actually like writing this script and then living it around the self-fulfilling prophecy of, well, the other shoe's always going to drop, you know? And ultimately like it's like you're going for a run and you're planning to go on this like 5-mile loop. And then at like mile 3, you're like, man, I don't think so. I'm just going to like cut across the lawn and go home. Right. And so you're not going the distance, and you're taking the shortcut, and you're not going the whole loop and letting the universe do its work for you. You're cutting it off too soon. And so you have to, there's this one other side to this personal development stuff that is like counterintuitive in a lot of ways, because it's supposed to feel like flowy and good and like everything comes right to me. But no, it takes discipline. We have to break our bad habits, because unfortunately in the society, we are trained to think that the other shoe's going to drop, that bad things are going to happen, that bad things come in threes, that, you know, we are trained to expect the worst. And so it's shifting it around and saying to yourself and having a mantra, and playing with a couple different mantras, but something like, expect the best and get even better. I expect the best and I get even better. And you say it over and over to yourself. And one of my favorite ones that Ani and I do together on our little trampoline, like every morning, is everything I need is within me now. And so cute to hear a little 2-year-old go, everything I need within me now. And like jumping up and down our little trampoline together. And it's so powerful to hear that, though, and to realize that it's the truth. Everything you need is within you now. If you expect the best, you're going to get even better. And it's like training wheels, and you keep doing it, and you test it out, and then you get positive reinforcement, and then you just keep doing it until it becomes the way. And sometimes one of my friend Rachel Campfield, whom I love, gives me this example around new like tracks, right? So I like to think of it as like water in a flow, right? So there's a piece of wood, and then the water's been running over for a long time, and so it goes down this one track, and it's just in that track. But then you start to think differently, right? You start to create a new neural pathway to process your emotions and the way you're thinking. And a new track starts to happen. And so the water will, like little trickles will go down that path, right? But most of the time it's still going down this one. And then suddenly, as you keep practicing, you keep working at it, you keep holding yourself accountable to it, recognizing it's not going to necessarily be easy at the onset. Suddenly this new pathway becomes the way. And then sometimes it'll trickle over here, like when Mercury's in retrograde or any of that stuff's going down, right? Like when you have your period and you're like all hormonal and spastic. But mostly it goes down this new one now. And so we have to try to create new grooves for thinking and for being. And it takes discipline. It doesn't just happen. We have to break ourselves. We have to train ourselves, just like I have to train my toddler not to be a wild animal, right? I have to train her to be civilized. We have to do the same things for ourselves.
Yeah. All right.
Does that help?
Yeah, I just need to keep going and not get so discouraged.
One thing I'm going to add too, just sort of sidebar, but I think kind of relevant. So we also start to identify ourselves as something. I'm sorry, I have something in my throat. But I have a friend who is has started a blog about telling her journeys of being a single girl, and talking about how she's like the single girl, has a hashtag single girl probs and all this. And I'm like, you might not want to do that, because you're basically creating a whole identity of being like a single girl and having problems. And I recognize that dating is rugged, and I'm really grateful that I don't have to do it. I'm just really grateful. But I would also say that you can energetically attract whacked out wackadoodle partners, just like you can attract wackadoodle clients in the same way by saying, I only have crazy people contacting me for work. I only have crazy guys checking out my profile, right? Self-fulfilling prophecy for that as well. So just I expect the best, I get even better, and just zooming out and being less specific around it. And then when it gets really good, you can get a little more specific, so you can get more reinforcement of what was it that was what made this, what are these really good feelings? Zoom in on those, focus on them, shine the light on them, feel them, roll around in them, and live them every day. Because you can create it at any time, because you are the creator of your reality.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Looking at all of you. Okay. If you guys aren't up for questioning right now, you can email Amber, I'm sure, or you can post in her Facebook group. She's in it for the next week. So
and then I'm getting kicked out, and I'm getting the boot.
Actually, Heidi's still in it. Heidi has just stayed. Heidi spoke last month about nutrition, and then has just stayed.
Nice. Heidi's wonderful. I love her.
I know. She's made. Yeah. Why would I boot her out?
Yeah.
But yes, if you guys think of anything, please be brave. Tomorrow I'll post more about your vision project. And I told you I'm bribing you. If you complete the project, you get a little gift. So I challenge you to get really clear on what your visions are, and then tell the world in some way. And the world meaning just us. You just only have to be brave enough to tell us. And we love you and support you unconditionally. So it's a great space to do that. Amber, do you have any last words?
No, just thank you. Thank you for those of you that shared. And I just wish you all the best on your journeys, and just recognize that this is a process and it takes time, and you're not, You know, my greatest mentor is Tony Robbins, right? And like, he's incredible, but I'm not Tony Robbins, you know, like yet, nor will I ever be. I'm going to be my version of that. But I'm just new on this journey. And so it's just recognizing that we all come in at different points, and it's all good. And it's our journey. So we get to define what success is and what feeling great is. And the only people that, you know, judge us are the people we allow to, which ultimately comes back on being us, you know. And if someone else, when you're feeling really centered and really great, if someone comes over and says something negative to you, it's almost like it doesn't even matter. Like, you can just totally brush that off. I know you guys can relate to that, where you've had some kind of weirdness happening and you're like, what? Okay, whatever. And it doesn't matter. It's because you're centered in your own truth, and you know that. And if you're living in truth, if you're being honest with yourself and you're living aligned, and I do this like a lot, it's because I'm really like emphasizing that being in your golden center, like being aligned with yourself, with the universe, being your highest adult self. No one can touch you. They just can't, you know, only you can. And that's the other part of the work is the discipline of not doing that to yourself, you know, loving yourself unconditionally. And then if I can help you guys in any way, you can find me over at my website, amberlilyestrom.com. And I have a free training I'd love for you guys to just check out if it's helpful. But it's called How to Become a Productivity Powerhouse. And I just show you how I make it work with 2 to 3 hours a day to get work done as a mompreneur. And I help you look at your 24 hours, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, but looking at your 24 hours and like really figuring out, where are the leaks? Where can you really tighten it up? How can you change your mindset? Because it's all about mindset, with valuing your time and recognizing that, you know, time is yours and it's one of your most precious gifts. It's really your most precious gift because you absolutely can't get it back. So check that out. Check out the podcast. And Tori, just thank you so much for the opportunity to be here tonight with all of you lovely ladies. This was really wonderful.
Thank you so much. Will you post your podcast and your website in our group?
You bet.
Perfect. I love you so much. Thank you. And thank you everybody for coming on the call.
Thank you, Tori, too.
Have a great night, guys.
Bye.